without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, guys, any...
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Pags. With me, we got Bo and Jay McLovin on the far end, actually here on time for once. It's always good to have him here right at the beginning because you never know what's going to occur after this happens. What's up, guys? How we all feeling?
Good. I mean, the one thing we do know will occur is very little sports. That is about what's about to happen.
You know, me and my wife last night, we were talking about Dolly Parton, and you know, it's amazing. Even when that lady gets into her early 80s, she's got to be in her 80s at this point, at least late 70s, early 80s, whatever.
Sure.
But that woman never changes. Have you noticed? Like literally, like she's just a walking plastic surgeon. You know, just everywhere. But she's still got it going on. Like Dolly still has it going on. We're kind of hot still.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad at her. Like she's made all the money. She can do it. She can make the repairs. There's some repairs I wouldn't mind making.
And listen, isn't that part of what she said? It's like, I don't even know how we started with Dolly Parton. See, again, this is what happens when we let the guy on the other end just start the talking. Like, just because he's here early does not mean you get to dictate exactly where this
it was just a
conversation is
question.
going to go.
That's really be talked about. Just a question.
And that's why I said we know exactly what's going to happen, and it's very little sports. When it comes to Jay, sports aren't going to happen.
So exactly, but we started talking about how Sylvester Stallone, like that's what we were talking off air. We were talking about how Sylvester Stallone, as start in movies was Rocky, but how he had his fingers in the pie of, what was it, Saturday Night Fever?
Yep.
Stayed Alive, Friday Night, the whole nine. And then he had Rambo. He had all kinds of craziness.
Well, Rambo was a different. Yeah, that was all.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
So, it made me start to think, like, right off the bat, like all the other sports movies. I mean, obviously right now sports is we're in the dog days of the hockey season and the basketball season, that there's not really much to talk about. As we get closer to the trade deadline for the NHL, there will be some more stuff. As we get closer to Detroit at the end of April, and we start seeing some of the stuff that happens with the combine. We'll have some football stuff to talk about. I mean, there was somebody who got dropped within the last 24 hours. Tracy Walker was a safety for the Lions. He got dropped. Slater retires after 16 years. Graham, the tight end Graham from the Saints, is going to row across the Arctic Ocean.
Yeah, 15 straight days. How crazy is that?
That's going to be one tired puppy.
Well, it's a team of three, and there's...
I'm just saying, like, I know he always breaks, but still, you got to think at the end of that 15 days, your body's going to still be worn out regardless.
Oh, no, there's no doubt. And then it's kind of a neat, if you haven't seen a picture of it, the thing they're rowing is actually kind of cool. It has two bunks in it, right? Like it's two little cabins. The idea was they're not going to sleep more than 90 minutes at any given time. And then basically it's like a 2-hour rowing session each kind of thing. So it like filters through somehow. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, I guess, but it's for charity, right?
I got to imagine it's for charity. He's racing with, or he's going to be, not race. This isn't a race. This is just a row. Former Navy SEAL Andrew Tropp.
Okay.
And former Team USA rower Hannah Hoopy.
Huh.
And then Hannah Hoopy. And then Team Switzerland rower John Hoopy.
Oh, so there's 4 of them on the boat.
4 of them on the boat.
Okay.
It's a 600-mile, and they leave will end in. The journey will begin in Norway and continue for more than 600 miles, eventually coming to an end in Longyearbyen, Svalbard.
So,
Svalbard. That's actually a country.
oh, it's a country. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I've never heard of Svalbard, but I got to imagine that that's one of them countries really up north. Like I can't imagine like if he's starting in Norway, when you think about going in a straight line, maybe that's not a straight line.
Yeah.
I mean, 600 miles is a long ways. So
Yeah,
Damn right. I mean, that's wow. That's
So,
impressive. That is
in
impressive.
other sports news, AB has found a way to make himself sound like a douchebag yet again. So good on him. Did you know?
tell us
Yeah.
about it because I didn't read it.
Oh, you didn't see that? Yeah. So basically, Caitlin Clark, right? She sets the women's NCAA record. She's player of the year in just about every voting thing imaginable. She's close to setting not just the women's but the men's as well, right? Just the all-time NCAA points leader. And he pops in with his direct quote was, "That bitch looks like Mel Gibson." Right? Like, what are we doing? Right? What is wrong with this guy? So I mean, all he seems to be able to do at this point is find ways to negatively be in the media at this point.
Well, that was absolutely. I mean, hey, listen, just like when we were talking about Lenny Dykstra.
Yeah.
Lenny Dykstra, like he had a stroke. He's in the hospital, and you see a bunch of tweets, and he's like, blah, 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 and then says a couple words. He goes, "Look, I still talk better than the senator or the governor of Pennsylvania or whatever his name.
Oh, wow.
The guy, like the guy who had a stroke and whatever. Like it's
Man.
Some people just don't know how not to talk.
Yeah,
they're gonna just
Yeah.
they're gonna just do it wrong, and ultimately,
in every 50-50 scenario, they're like, okay, there's the obvious way that you should go and not look like a douche. It's like, yeah, I'm doing the other thing.
Because they get more attention. They get more attention by being the douche.
Yeah, they do.
This is the reason why we have haters in the first place.
No,
Because that's just a straight hater speech. Right.
It's like clickbait. It's like clickbait stuff, something gets you to click on it.
Yeah, no, he 100% hates everybody.
Yeah, and God bless him. You know what I mean? Good for you. Good work, AB. Because you really are, the horse's ass.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you'd accidentally do something where you don't look like an asshole at some point.
I don't know, man.
But then nobody would pay attention.
Sideline. I just figured that was just going to be him forever.
Once
he did that whole Jersey thing, I was just like, okay, this is going to be AB. This is just who he is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that perfect hit really was the difference maker. Removed his brain from his head.
Yeah, I don't get it, but hey, listen, who am I to say, how somebody should live his life? He's got millions of dollars.
He does.
You want to be a dumbass? Be my guest.
I think based on just the amount of dumb stuff both of these guys say, they should have their own podcast, and that would be AB and Cam Newton. And it just,
oh goodness,
we hate the world. Like that would be the We Hate the World podcast.
Might as well have Meta World Peace involved in that.
Might as well. Yeah.
Just get everybody on that same platform. Just like, hey, we're going to talk about how bad we can be, how much of an asshole we can be to everybody.
Yep.
And I'm sure that there would they would have lots of followers.
People would tune in. There is no doubt.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, people
Yeah.
get
Again, it would be the Howard Stern effect. I
Yeah.
want to hear what he has to say next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What sort of garbage is going to fall out of their face? That is 100%. People tune in for that.
Who else falls into that category? Like of just, guys that are like just idiots. Like Papelbon is another one that I think of that was of that ilk. Just was like, yeah, he's a.
I mean, so I know this comment wasn't designed that way, but the timing was perfect. You're like, who else? And then Jamie.
I see Dennis Rodman falling into that category a little bit, though. I can see him.
Yeah, but Dennis Rodman didn't say stupid stuff.
No, but he did go to North Korea. That whole North Korea thing was kind of crazy.
I mean, he did weird things.
And I think that's what it is. He just did
he's
weird
just
things.
a weird dude, but he wasn't necessarily disrespectful to people for no reason, right?
Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, I feel like that. Like he was not like he did go to North Korea, but he was invited.
He was.
So listen, if you get invited to go to North Korea, you go. I mean, it's like listen, Kim Jong-un is not going to invite me to go to North Korea. Never.
Zero chance. Yeah.
Zero chance. I mean, obviously, he's not going to be like, hey, Philly sports guy, I want to invite you over here and I want to put you in the North Korea. You're going to be the North Korean sports guy. No, that's not happening. Sorry, not playing that game.
Yeah, 0 days ever. Is that going to be a thing? Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's, I don't know. That would be a podcast that would get a lot of ratings, and for no other reason than that it would be the most toxic podcast ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it would be.
I agree. I kind of
people like that stuff. I don't know. People like that drama and that thought. I mean, Facebook's full of that crap.
Oh, it definitely is.
So, but it would probably be as big as our hater show, which is coming up on April 1st. As I just want to make sure, the day after Easter. So the day you absolve yourselves from sins, you are going to be able to come out and just express all of your feelings. April 1st. Tune in. That's going to be a great show. Nothing more than feelings.
Oh man, come on, guys, we can't go off the rails 13 minutes in.
Why not? This is perfect.
Hey, by the way, I did want to clarify something. It's interesting. You were right. Rocky was his first big time film, but you know how many films he did before that were like extras, stuff like that. Like he did.
Oh yeah, he was extras and stuff like that. Yeah, April Fool's Day, Robert. Yes, sir.
April Fool's Day.
I know you're calling in on that, Rob. I know it.
Exactly. Everybody loves it. And listen, and we're not even going to argue. We're going to just allow this to occur. Anybody who starts to give me trash talk is going to get this message. Hey, listen, we are having the hater show. It's probably going to be a long show.
Yeah. Even if by time it's not, it's probably still going to be a little bit of a long show. as we sit there and be like, okay, just square up right here.
My wife says she's calling in. She's got a lot of hate to let out. Apparently, it's going to be a miracle. Should be a laundry list of Jay McLovin hate from that woman.
Right.
Listen, she's only going to have 2 minutes.
I know. Well, she only needs 2.
No, she's going to change her name. She's going to call in like 4 or 5 times. Like she's making fake accounts now.
Yeah. I'm married to an asshole.
Your name is McAsshole.
Oh, man.
Well, all right.
Hey, you know what? And it's about to come back, that blonde surfer hair. It is absolutely about to come back. So, yes, you can call up to hate on my hair.
How many times you can
Nope.
dye your hair before it falls out? I mean, is there like a limit of how many times a hair could take dye? Before
I don't dye my hair. I bleach my hair.
You spray paint yours.
I bleach my hair and it's spray painted. Correct.
Yeah. No, so for me, it was, I don't know, half a dozen times. And then I decided, you know what? Peace out.
Deuces.
But no,
What's your hair? Your hair said peace out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. So I had the frosted tips at one point. So, that was a thing.
Well, you kind of do now, except it's not dyed.
Yeah, it's natural. It's natural,
There you go. See, I would look like Paulie Walnuts if I had my hair. My hair grows like weeds. It grows like I shaved my head 2 days ago.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yours grows quick. So does mine. My hair grows quick to a certain point, and then it just slows down.
See, I don't have a salt and pepper look. I don't. No, it's literally a Paulie Walnuts. It's like in the front here, I have a little bit of gray, as you can maybe see as I get a little closer. There, you can see a little bit of gray.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's dark. I don't have a lot of gray hair this way, and even here, like you see in my hair, it's all dark. But the sides, absolutely. I have the Paulie Walnuts. If you remember watching The Sopranos, I have the Paulie. He was dark up at the top, gray on the sides. So that's
so
just the way.
For me, it's funny because all my gray is actually on my face. So like hair up top, it's all dark.
There you go. See, and you still have some hair. You just wear hats. You know, Brad is always asking sports questions. And before we get off the rails today, let's talk about this. Obviously, Whit Merrifield was an all-star. He's hit over 300. Decides to sign with the Phillies because he wants to win a championship now. And that's like, obviously, that sounds great on paper, obviously. But he was an all-star last year, played for the Toronto Blue Jays for a long time, was a three-time batting champion, from what I understand, and stuff like that. Like, this kid has been a good guy. He's 35 years old, so he's going to be a utility player at this point. With you guys, I mean, obviously you're a Houston fan, Jay, and you're a Seattle fan, which really means that you just watch your team lose every year.
Occasionally, you know what? We play okay in May.
Hey, depending on how well you play in April and May, could means you last a long time. And
no, we don't play good in April. We play good in spring training. We forget how to play in April. And then May, we play some pretty good baseball to get back in it. And then from there, it's a struggle.
So the ravishing sports guy, I don't know that I'm the ravishing sports guy. Yeah. But and of course, Robert's got to come in, throwing in the hate. He's throwing the hate a little early.
That's right.
They banned all metal trash cans. They banned all metal trash cans from that stadium, so they can't cheat anymore.
That's right. They're stealing.
That was like 1 year. That was like 1 year, and that's all the people ever remember. Hey, yo, Rob, we got another damn World Series ring. Where's your team at?
You got caught 1 year.
You got caught 1 year.
We don't know. We don't know.
That's a loser talking.
You're probably you're just adopting the Niners.
Bo, you're better than that. Bo, be better.
Is that what we're doing?
Bo, be better. Do better, Bo. Do better.
I'm not the one cheating. Maybe your team should do better.
You got us one time. One.
Yeah, you got caught one time.
You can't hate the fact that we're still better than you? You can't hate that fact that hurt every day?
Well, of course it hurts. I'm a Mariners fan. Everything hurts. It's pain all
the
time.
Listen, I get you, brother. Man, that's the case, Robert. Hell, all of baseball's cheaters. Your boy A-Rod over there, what? He did steroids. He cheats. Everybody cheats. Let's not go there.
And Brad, since these guys don't really know much about the Phillies, I'm going to say for the time being, yes, I think he will be the closer. I'm just not sure that he'll end in that spot. I like him being a setup guy. I'd rather him not be the closer. I think he gets a little too erratic when he gets a little too, like I said, he has a lot of fire, and sometimes that fire ends up being ball, even though he's throwing 101 miles an hour. So I think that initially he's going to start off as our closer, but will not finish as our closer.
Mhm.
So, and Spencer Turnbull with the Phillies. That's we'll see. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that signing, but I want to see guys in the clubhouse that just actually make the Phillies do well. And we're still we have we need to have a good April. We always traditionally start off with a poor April and May, and then we fight to make it back in. So I would like for them to not have that problem this year. I'd like for us to start off the right way and
What do y'all think
move
about the
forward.
Rangers, man? Y'all think the Rangers repeat? They didn't lose anybody.
No, I don't think the Rangers repeat. I think that the Rangers got hot at the right time, but they were too streaky. And if they came up against the Phillies, I think it would have been a much different series. I don't think that it would have been as simple for them. I think that the Rangers themselves, they got lucky and they ran into Arizona, who played their World Series against the Phillies. They
Yeah.
literally, I mean, they were hot, and then they caught a cold Phillies team when we went back to Philadelphia. And ultimately, if you look at that playoff series, the playoffs from the year before in comparison to the playoffs this previous year. So I'm talking when Phillies went to the World Series and then when the Phillies lost in the NLCS, the fans themselves could you could say carried the Phillies. That they made it very difficult for opposing teams. But we started off on the road. And so it was like we played the two wild card games and then the first two games of the Atlanta series all on the road. So by the time we got home, we were in a frenzy, but it was like, okay, we have these three games where we're in a frenzy. Last year, we had the two home playoff games for the wild card. Then we had the away games because we played Atlanta. And then we had home again.
Right.
I feel like when we were away, we had better fan support because we were tired. Like the fans were tired at the end of that because it's hard to keep that level of excitement for that long. And there were really 5 extra games that they were loud for that they weren't really planning on being loud for. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Mhm.
by the time we got to game 6 and game 7 of that series, the fans were that the energy level was down.
Mm.
And because and it was still loud, but it wasn't anywhere near as loud as it was for the Atlanta series. So, and you feel that. You felt it. It was just like, hey, for instance, in Seattle, when the Eagles were there, they had the decibel meter only up to 101, which
Mm.
was soft.
That
You
is.
usually have it at around 120,
Yeah.
125 because there were that many Eagles fans in attendance that it made that big of a difference. So, similar situation. The difference between 120 and 100 on a decibel meter
Is a lot.
is tremendous,
Yeah.
is tremendous. And that energy is felt. That energy level is felt. And I feel like that's part of what occurred. And ultimately, the fans, I'm not blaming the fans for losing because we weren't up to bat. We didn't hit
Exactly.
it, but ultimately we were exhausted. And we didn't have the energy to keep it up on our side because like I said, there were 4 extra games that took our energy away because we were at the level up here at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Let me
So
ask you this: Does Scherzer and Degrom, you know how much injuries they've had over their career? Do you think they make it through a whole season next year, or do you see them going on? Or let's put it this way: do you see them even being in the playoffs next year?
yes, both of them. I think that DeGrom makes the Rangers viable. Scherzer can get hurt, but Scherzer can, I mean, he's Randy Johnson.
Right.
He's Doc Holliday. You know what I mean? He has that fire to be able to pitch like that. And that's the amazing stuff that happens. You know what I mean? Like when you have somebody like that, like Randy Johnson was just a beast. And
Well,
he
I
would
remember Randy.
scare
He played for
people.
Houston there for a little bit. I remember Randy. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and he'd scare people. Like that's what it is. He intimidated you.
He was huge.
Well,
Right?
think about that.
Right? His delivery is halfway to the plate by the time it leaves his
It
hand.
literally is. I mean,
Well, he was
it's
6'7". He was 6'7", and then you have an additional 6 inches on the mound. So the guy looks like he's 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
And he's throwing a ball that's coming in, and he had great movement. So it like his slider would come in, look like it about to hit your head, and come slide in underneath. So you were always afraid. I mean, the at bat with John Kruk when he hit the guy before him, and John Kruk was he's like, yeah, I don't care. In the All-Star game,
Just don't
it
hit
was
me.
just yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Like it was
Well,
funny to watch, but that's what he did to players.
Yeah.
He was intimidating.
and
so
he had a pitch that he didn't throw very often, right? He called it Mr. Snappy, and it was the most uncontrollable pitch because of the way he threw it. But it was so fast, right? It was over 100 miles an hour, and you didn't know where it was going because he didn't know where it was going. So, you'd seen that pitch fly into the stands. Like it made you think of Major League, right? Where he's wound up gas, and it's hitting the backstop.
It's knocking the head off the bull.
Exactly. So he had a pitch like that. And so, you're up there and you're just like, okay, like what's he throwing? Is this going to come in here? Is it going to take, my head off? Like you didn't really know, right? Like it was Bull Durham. It was the look for it low and away, but watch out for in your ear.
right, exactly. And it's like I think about that. Like I think about some of the power pitchers, and then I think of some of the crazy pitchers that could throw those knuckleballs that would just like
those are amazing.
Yeah, like it would just you never knew where that was going to go, and it's if you hit it, it was a home run, but you just couldn't hit it most of the time. And that's how Phil Niekro stayed in the league for as long as he did. Jamie Moyer lived off of that pitch, and you guys know a lot about Jamie Moyer. I mean, I got to see him at the end of his career, and of course, he won. He helped us win a World Series here, something that he did not help you guys do ever.
The thing that's funny is he was like he didn't have power, right? His fastball was everyone else's changeup, right?
Right.
But his command was second to none. Like his command of the ball was fantastic. Like he could hit every corner edge he wanted to hit.
Yes.
And which as a batter, you know how frustrating that would have to be because you're watching the ball come in so much slower than everybody else and you still can't hit it.
Right.
One of my favorite pitchers was Nolan Ryan. That dude could throw it at your head. If you even wanted to go out to the mound, he'd just kick your ass on the mound.
I love Nolan Ryan. I love Nolan Ryan when the one guy came up and attacked him and he got him in the headlock and bam, 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 bam.
That was amazing.
That's when he was with the Rangers that year, that specific year. Crazy. They don't make them like Nolan Ryan or like you said, Randy John. They don't make those guys anymore. I mean,
Nolan was amazing though. I mean, that was all gas all the time.
He had a few other pitches there. Once he got to the Angels, he actually, that's when he started developing his pitching repertoire. And then by the time he got to Houston, he had damn near perfected it. Yeah. But yeah, matter of fact, when he played with the Mets, and that's the only time he ever got a World Series with the Mets. And then he did pitch. I think it was Game 7 towards the end of it. He had like a few innings in there, and then that's when he went to LA right after that. Yeah, but he was all gas. You're right. That's all he had was gas until he got to the Angels, and they started developing some other pitches.
He had a couple other pitches, but I mean, you were worried
that
about
was a specific one, though. I mean, there was a round of
you were worried about the Heat.
Which one are we talking about? Who are we talking about?
Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan.
When did he go to the Angels?
He went to the Angels after the Mets. After the Mets, he went to the Angels. And then from the Angels, then he went over to the Astros. And that was probably
then the Rangers. And then the Rangers, right? He ended with the Rangers.
And then the Rangers right after that. Yep.
Because, and I think about, like, when I think about pitchers like that, like, obviously, he was amazing to kind of watch, and things like that. Just 7 no-hitters probably will never be, actually, not saying it won't never be, but, I mean, he literally was just, again, but he was somebody who intimidated you.
Right.
It's like you were intimidated going up from, going up to the bat. Like, just like,
I think you were spot on when you said it won't ever be hit again. Because you got to think, how many pitchers now even go beyond 6 innings, Pags? Most of them don't even get beyond the 6.
They hit 100 pitches and they're out. I mean,
I don't think that's ever going to get touched. I don't think the 5,000 strikeouts ever gets touched.
Probably not.
Just because of the length of how long the starters stay in the game. It just doesn't happen like it used to.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, some of those will never get attacked at all. Just because nobody plays full games. Like, you can count the number of full games in a season on one hand at this point.
You're right. You're right.
Yes.
And that's what makes the no-hitters and things like that even that much more special, is because, like you said, you don't see it very often where they go the full 9.
Yeah, that was a perfect game. That was a bad loss, Brad.
A perfect game.
That unfortunately, that's exactly what Seattle does. They develop talent. They start to play well. They trade him. He will probably win a ring somewhere else now. Like, for whatever reason, the Mariners are content with being the league's AAA team. They develop talent. They send them out, and then they win a ring literally everywhere else they go. It is.
Well, how long do you think you guys hang on to Castillo? How long do you think he'll be with you guys?
I mean, if he takes that next step, this would be the last year.
and I'm just asking because you guys literally traded to bring him over from the Reds, correct?
Yeah, I believe that's right. Yeah. No, I mean, unfortunately, it's what the Mariners do. It's what they've done for a really long time. It's just it's a developmental team. Is kind of what they decide they want to be. So as soon as they start to play well and they get some guys that are really showing out, they move off them. They don't want to play
Seattle is the second level of the farm system for everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what it is you got everybody's, single A, triple A teams. And then there's the Mariners and then there's Major League Baseball.
And I think that just comes, is that just an ownership thing? You think that just doesn't want to, they just don't want to pay the guys and keep them?
Yeah. They just don't want to pay.
Yeah, because you're going to have to pay them guys eventually. I mean, there are some clubs, though, that can do that. Tampa doesn't have the highest payroll in baseball, and they've been able to have pretty good success at that level,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is the Mariners actually make money. Like, they sell stuff, they sell seats. Like, I mean, it's not like it's a underfunded team.
Right.
So they don't have a reason to not try and play. And Rob, you're kind of right. Had they done something like if they moved off Kelnick and did something with that roster spot, then I would agree with you. But to just punt him and then get worse doesn't make me feel good about it. And that's why I say it's a loss.
Because I'm just wondering if you guys had a different GM that made different selections or different choices, if you guys can improve that direction. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like if the Tampa Bay Devil Rays can make it work, and look, the days of buying teams, I mean, I'm not saying it can't still be done, but that's kind of gone by. Look at all the teams out there spend all this money and still can't do a damn thing with it. But yet you got the lower level teams, like the Rangers are the highest paid payroll in baseball. Tampa's not the highest payroll in baseball. Astros are about $194 million. I don't know where the Phillies are. You guys might be on that same.
They're also not the A's, right? So I mean, like,
you're right, and you're not. You're right. You're right. So I feel like you guys could do something with it. Maybe I think maybe you got to do a GM change or organizational change that can keep the talent, develop the talent, whatever.
It really has to be an ownership change because we've had different GMs, we've had different coaches, we've had players roll in and out of here, right? Like they haven't been good since the mid '90s, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they've had years here and there, right? 2001 obviously was a great year. They tied the all-time win record. But at the end of the day, like really from the mid 90s on, they haven't been a consistent, decent team. So it's that at that point isn't a GM issue or a coaching issue, because that's just too many years. It's not like those guys have been in that position for the last 30 years. Like that's just not how that works. So that's where it comes down to an organizational issue, right? Like that's an ownership problem. That's I don't want to spend money type of thing. Now, again, you don't have to be the highest paid roster. I'm not advocating for that at all, but you do have to actually try and retain players once they become good. You can't just train players up and then get rid of them and then go back to your farm system. That's not an effective way to win games. You get your guys playing good baseball. You pay them. You don't pay all of them, but you pay enough of them.
You find that core group. You find your core group, and then you build from there.
Exactly.
You're right. I get what you're saying.
I mean, again, you don't have to be the highest paid roster, but you do have to actually pay guys. And you can't just randomly make a swing because you're starting to see attendance really fall off. So you go get a Cano or something like that. That really wasn't going to be a difference maker on that roster, right? It's not like that team was ready to win. You just wanted a flashy name. You were going to throw some money at it to keep fans in the stands. But at the end of the day, that wasn't going to be a difference maker. How about we don't throw money at one dude, and how about we get some guys that can play?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Pags, are we now getting into the point where we're going to do an international draft where you can't just go down to South America and pluck all these guys out of South America and throw them in your team? Now there's going to actually be a draft for that. Is that right? I know they were talking about it. I remember hearing something about bringing an international draft in. I don't know if you guys are tracking that.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know much about that. I like the same thing with like Cubans. You get somebody who's in Cuba, get them, somehow smuggle them out of that country,
right,
to have them play baseball. It's kind of tough to do. I don't know what the status of Fidel Castro is, and things like that. But it's I don't know. I don't mind that, but I don't think that there's enough people. The problem is that not everybody's got resources like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's only a few. It's usually the West Coast teams that have resources in Japan.
Yeah.
So that's why you only see the West Coast teams like San Francisco, like the Dodgers, like the Angels that have Japanese players on the team, because it's close enough.
Mariners typically do.
And I'll tell you, because, when you look at the DR, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, in that area, I mean, the Astros make a living there. I mean, really, we do. If you look at our team, literally, that's where we kind of focus a lot of it on. Like everybody worried, well, you're not getting. They took all these draft picks away from me. This, that. You're right, and they can do all they want, because you know what? We're going to go right down to South America. We're going to bring half those guys in, and look what we developed. Half of our team is Dominican. Hell, our damn pitching staff is 3/4 South American. They don't even speak English. We got 4 different levels of interpreters. I mean, and that's why I see a big part of the MLB market coming from is South America or in that region, even in the Caribbean.
Well, I mean, there's a good amount that comes
where Dominican is.
Right.
I'm surprised Seattle hasn't. I guess what I'm saying is I'm surprised Seattle hasn't taken that step from other teams that are doing that and going down there and looking for their prospects rather than so much in the draft. And I think you can get it.
They get a fair amount of Japanese players. So
yeah, but the Japanese players, certain players from Japan, they have the ability to actually come here on their own. The problem is that they don't. Japanese sign contracts with them. And listen, they have free agency just like everything else. So Absolutely. They could come here on their own if they wanted to. They choose not to. They choose to have them stay at home. So you don't see free agents happen as often. In Korea, they don't have any of those problems. Yeah, you're Korean. You want to come over here. If you're good enough to make it over to the Major League Baseball, see ya. Yep. That's the way that works. So, I mean, I don't agree with the way that Japan does it. Obviously, they're trying to make some money off of the market. They have taken pages out of soccer. So when you buy a player in soccer, different scenario. You could, for instance, I know that there is Philadelphia Union players that are playing over in Europe. That every time that player gets traded, the Union, because they were the originator of this player, they get some money from that. That they get paid in the mix of that. So there is something that occurs like that, and that's what Japan tried to do to try to bring some money back home to that type of all right, so this guy is signed with here the Yamamoto Giants, and ultimately, you know if you want this player, you got to pay us and pay. Get the hell out of here. It's it's BS really, but the truth of the matter is that they don't have the ability to do anything else like that. It's that's the way they're going to make their money, and that's the way they're going to do it, or else they're keeping homegrown talent.
Yeah.
That's why you
Well,
don't see
I'll
many
tell you
Americans go play over there.
yeah. Because I know a lot of teams. I know the Astros are probably one of those teams that do. Because like I said, we go down there a lot for a lot of our signings. But all a kid has to do is be 16 years old. Any country, 16 years old down there. And as long as you're 16 years old, you can actually sign an MLB contract. And that's what we're doing. Now, the bad side is what I know has happened. I've also seen this too, where they're going down there, they're giving these 16-year-old kids contracts, and then they're yanking it out from underneath them. Maybe they went somewhere else or whatever, and they leave them hanging high and dry. But a lot of those kids, as long as you're 16 years old, you can sign an MLB contract. And that's what they're doing and bringing them over that direction.
Well, but
You
now
know?
now you actually have the situation that Brad was talking about here a little bit ago. Where is it at? Uh, where he's talking about how Montgomery and Snell are still on the market, and that these guys are good players, but yet haven't been
That's a
signed
good
yet.
point. That's true.
And the problem with that is that why that's happening is because you know, these owners don't want to pay all that money anymore. It's
You're
like,
right.
yep. I think
Yeah.
of there's 8 players right now. There's 8 that Scott Boras has as their agent. And Scott Boras is like the super agent, obviously. He's the one that's like, okay, I'm going after every penny I can for every player I can, and we're going to just fleece these major league teams. Well, they don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to do it anymore. So you could be this super agent and you could ask for $100 billion, but that doesn't mean that we're going to pay you.
Well, they are
And,
kind of still doing it to a certain level because Yamamoto just signed that big, huge contract. So he got his huge contract last
yeah,
year.
guess what? Guess
Scherzer
what?
got
And
his
that
huge
wasn't
contract.
even the most amount of money that the
Oh, I know.
Phillies offered $25 million more than the Dodgers did.
Yeah. Yeah.
$25 million more.
Yeah.
And he still went to the Dodgers. Why did he go to the Dodgers? That's where Otani
Shohei's
was.
over there.
Yeah, Otani.
He wanted to play with Shohei Otani. But you know what? But again, there are $50 million pitchers. Last year we saw a couple of them get $50 million contracts, a year contracts. So
Not really. I mean, you
I'm
had
just wondering
Scherzer
why
get
Snell
that
hasn't got it.
43 million. I mean, it's like not really. I mean, you have. You know what? I'm going to Google it real fast and
Yeah,
see.
Google that because I would be curious to know. I know last year there were some big pitchers that signed big contracts though, and I am wondering curious why Blake Snell, especially he's had the Cy Young, why he hasn't gotten those same. If Scherzer's getting it, DeGrom's getting, who have injury issues, why is Snell not getting it? He hasn't had injury issues. He's still playing pretty solid. It just to me that one doesn't make sense.
All right, so
Unless
you have
they're just tired of paying the contracts. Maybe last year
you have Otani
was the
who has
thing.
them in the 700 million. It comes out to
Yeah.
ATV of 770 million. You have Aaron Judge who's got 9 years, 360 million, which is 40 million a year. Obviously Harper is 13 years for 330. Corey Seager, 32 and a half, 10 years, 325. Yamamoto now is 12 years at 325 million, so that's a smaller ATV. Garrett Cole was 9 years at 324 million, so that's nowhere near 50 million a year. Manny Machado is 30 million a year, and Trey Turner is 27 million a year, and Xander Bogaerts is 25 million a year. I mean, so there isn't
Where is
$50 million
Scherzer and DeGrom at?
or
Scherzer
50
literally just signed his contract. Where is Scherzer? I'm pretty sure he got a pretty decent amount.
Sorry, you were breaking up there for a second.
No, I was just asking Matt Scherzer, where's his yearly salary at? As I know he just signed.
Scherzer contract, a 3-year, $130 million with the no trade clause, but of course he got traded. So,
but I think he was happy to go where he was going, so he waived that no trade clause.
$43.3 million a year.
Yeah. So why is Scherzer getting that kind of money, given his injury issue last year? And then you got Blake Snell, who doesn't have those kinds of injuries, and yet is just as good of a pitcher, if not even better, because didn't he just come off a Cy Young award?
Well, doesn't matter about DeGrom. I mean, they both have Scherzer and DeGrom, and then Verlander. Like, same thing with Verlander. Verlander supposedly gets all this money, but he's not very good typically in the playoffs. Now, he did win with Houston. He did win with Houston, but it wasn't because of him.
No, he actually had. No, you're on point.
He has struggled in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not. It's so ultimately, it's not really because of him, but he eats innings. That's the reason why
that's where he's valuable. Is the fact that he eats innings because
he doesn't get hurt.
Earlier, you know?
He doesn't get hurt very often. That's why we have Aaron Nola on the Phillies. He eats innings. He is a good pitcher. He's not the number one pitcher he was, but he's absolutely a number 2, 2.5. And he eats innings. He doesn't get hurt. He's a workhorse. He can eat 250 innings a year, and that is invaluable.
Oh, yeah,
that
is keeps invaluable. That bullpen nice and fresh.
Exactly. Well, and it's not like he has a bad ERA doing it.
And again, and if you're eating innings, you're definitely giving your offense plenty of opportunity.
If you could have 250 innings a year, if you could eat 250 innings a year and stay under 4, you're doing great.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with that. Totally agree.
Because right now, that's the real thing. When you have DeGrom, who was like a 2 ERA, but I tell you, every time we go up against DeGrom, same thing we go up against that pitcher from Florida. He's an amazing pitcher. I think he won the Cy Young last year.
Is that the one down there with Tampa?
No, he's with the Marlins.
Oh, with the Marlins?
Yeah.
I'm about to go. You know what, though? But I like the back end of where Houston's at in our rotation. You know, we got Abreu, and we got Presley, and now we got Hader. You know, I like that back end. And what we need is exactly what you're talking about, Pags. We need those starters that can eat up those innings so we keep those 3 guys fresh. And then we also got a couple other guys we can throw in there. But, you know, to keep that core fresh, right?
Well, that's how we won a World Series. That's how we won a World Series. I mean, we had the bridge to Lidge and then Lidge. You know what I mean? And then we actually had a 7th inning guy to J.C. Romero. We had J.C. Romero, the bridge to Lidge, and then the Lidge. You know, then Lidge.
I like Brad Lidge. He's an old Astro too, and I did not like it when we lost him because I liked him. He, like you said.
Well, and then he went 48 out of 48 saves, and he didn't lose a save. And of course, the first save that following year he blew.
Yeah. It happens. I mean, honestly, sometimes that was
amazing run, though.
That's baseball, though. You know, baseball is a very streaky thing. You know, you go with streaks. You know, so that streak had to run out at some point.
Well, at the beginning of the following year is when it ran out. So, but we went
48 series, though.
If you were going to blow a save, though, that's when you do it early in the
season.
Yeah,
you don't do it during the series. You do it at the beginning of the season. Be like, okay, got that out of the way. Now let's roll.
Exactly.
Because that's what it is, right? I mean, like the beginning of the season really doesn't matter. It's after the All-Star break that it really starts to matter. Because remember the Yankees during the 22 season when they came out and they had their best record in baseball. I mean, they were looking just badass up until the point where they ran into the Astros right before the All-Star break. And then we got the Yankees right after the All-Star break, and we kicked their ass in both of those series. And the Yankees weren't the same ever since. And they wound up getting blown out in the playoffs. So it just depends on when you light up. You know, like the Rangers this year. Jesus, man. We got the division, but like you said, Pags, they lit up at the right time and they were unstoppable. And God forbid, what was that one dude's name? The one dude that we hit and he just went on a tear after that, Araldus or what? You know the dude I'm talking about, the one that hit the home runs for the Rangers.
No,
Garcia.
That is one thing about baseball that I always find interesting is, it is the ultimate marathon sport, right?
It is 162 damn games.
Exactly. But the first round of the playoffs, right? That win and you're in game, you got 162 games to come down to one game.
Comes down to one game.
But I'll tell you what, though. Hey, listen, when they took away, that's the one thing that really hurt the Astros, in my opinion, was when they took away the shift. The Astros lived and died by that shift. They really did. And when they took that shift away, it really, I saw the effects of it on our team. We really did. And then that pitch clock, too. The pitch clock really took a lot away from our pitchers, too. A lot of our pitchers, they like to take their time, and that pitch clock forced them to go faster. And I think between those two things, it really took the Astros a long time, almost to bring us to the end of the season, before we even got used to those two rule changes.
Well, Phillies had the same issue with the pitch clock, and I think initially I was like, yeah, the pitch clock is a little too fast. At the end of the season, I loved it. I really did love it. It really did speed things up. It made things really much better in the grand scheme of things, as far as I was concerned. Just because, like I said, it sucks when you're at games for 5 hours at a time because,
Oh, I understand. Yeah, it does.
I don't get to leave. I don't get to leave early, when I go to these games. It's like I leave early and all of a sudden I'm getting hate for, he's not a real fan, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It's like, really? Are you kidding me? I'm like, come on, guys.
But you got to be thick-skinned on that one, Pags. You know how people are.
I get it. But so now I don't care as much, but ultimately there are games that I'm going to leave a little early because, well, hell, it's like I'm here for 70 games this season. Yeah. You tell me when you're not. And I'll show up to 70 games.
Hey, I don't know though, Pags. Though at the same time, some of the people would be like, "Hey, if I had money to go to 70 games, I'd probably go to 70 games." I mean, it could be a financial. So I can't. That argument, I get that argument. I do, Pags. But at the same time, some people can't afford to go to 70 games. I mean, it's
no, and I absolutely understand that. Listen, I'm not trying to.
Hell, a damn beer costs you like an arm, and a hot dog costs you the other arm. So by the time you can even get the food there, you don't have nothing to carry the food with.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm not trying to diminish. I'm not saying, hey, listen, because I have the means to go to these games that I am a better fan. That's not what I'm saying. Anywhere near that. You know what I mean?
I like
what I am saying about is that if I am at the game and I leave early, somebody has something to say about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I have to stay there for those games for the most part. And listen, I signed up for this. This is not something that it's like it sucks sometimes that I am the guy that's got to be the guy. You know what I mean?
Right. No, it does.
Yeah.
You know what?
I like that we're stirring up more people for this hater show.
Oh yeah. Robert. Hey, Robert. Oh, hey, look. You know what? You're a little early, guy. Okay. Look, I'm sorry that you come from a team that is so bad that the only way you can level up to where I am as a fan is to talk about trash cans. If that's your only ploy in life, please, for the love of God, go see a mental health counselor. Number two. Hey, I will tell you this: the one rule change I absolutely do like, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I love the fact that the pitcher only has 2 times to throw to first, and after that, it's over. And I love it because I like stolen bases. I like to watch it. It's a great part of the game.
So we actually talked about that, one of the days that you weren't here, you were just gallivanting around, whatever you do. And so we talked about that because that's a rule I really like too. I like seeing stolen bases again. It's something that really got out of the league. And so, that being only able to check the runner a couple of times is so much better.
Right.
It is.
I
that's
agree.
one of the things that really, it's one of the elements of the game that I think, it speeds it up, right? I think it makes it better for the younger, audiences that are coming up that don't necessarily like Pags was saying, the slow paced game. We want to see a little bit more action. We want to get a little bit more quicker. And I think that's a good way baseball is going to hopefully increase their reach to newer audiences. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, and I honestly, the pitch count, everybody's adjusting to it at this point. So it's really not the issue that it was at the beginning. So, I mean, and it does speed the game up, which is good. Let's be honest. Like there were, especially some of those pitchers had such a long delivery, and then they would check a runner 500 times too.
Oh yeah,
so you're just like,
absolutely.
man, we've been in this second inning for like a day and a half already, and we're still on the fourth batter. So yeah, no, I mean, there's elements of it that I definitely like the changes.
Yeah.
And let's face it, how many times did people throw over to, against like, Vince Coleman or Henderson, where they would throw over, and he'd still steal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, they probably missed the throw to second, and he'd end up taking 2 bases.
But that's one thing that I really want to, and I've seen it a few times, especially to the Astros that happened to. I'd like to see more of that bunting come back to the game. I mean, that's an element or a strategic element that I think has been lost. And if you can do the bunt really good, especially if you got one out and a guy on third, if you or second, you're trying to get him over. That whole bunt element is amazing, and we've kind of in baseball gotten away from it. But I know I've seen 3 instances that happened to Astros where we got runs scored on us in critical situations off of the bunt, and I'm like,
right.
Damn.
Well, and that's
a long time.
That's one of the plays that has gone by the wayside. The suicide squeeze is no longer really a thing. What I have noticed is that there has been some people have stolen home this past year, which is again another play that kind of has gone by the wayside. But this year has been this past year came back a little bit. There was like four times home was stolen this past year, which I kind of like that. But yes, the suicide squeeze is so underused anymore because it's such a, first off, you need to have a speed guy on third base, and they have to, like, I've watched where sometimes these guys on third base are so far down the line. It's like where they have where the coach is supposed to stand, they have that big like parentheses almost on the outside of the thing, and they're down to the backside of that parentheses, where they're almost halfway down the line, where it's almost like if the pitcher wanted to go off and go at the guy, he'd have to make a decision because it's that close. And I wonder why they don't do that. Why doesn't the pitcher step off and chase the guy? Yeah. Like, why doesn't he do that? It's,
it would make sense that I mean, because if you can close the gap between you and him, then you're going to force him on a certain direction. That's an easy pickoff.
Yeah,
right.
Well, why don't they? That doesn't make sense to. Hey, I know we're almost at the top of the hour, but I do want to talk about Chris Sale going to the Braves, and how that's impacted. Because I think that's a crazy move to me. Do you guys think that's crazy? I mean, like, especially when you got other guys out there like Snell that are on free agent. Why sell a guy who barely even plays due to injuries? I mean, that's the most injury-prone guy.
Because the Braves.
I mean, was it a cheap contract at least?
I don't know. That's what I have to look at because
I'll have to look that up.
I didn't even realize.
Why don't you guys? Here, while we take a break, you guys look that up. We'll go to the break at the top of the hour just a touch early, and we will do our station identification, and you could then figure out exactly what Chris Sale's contract is, how long he's going to be there with the Braves, and what it's going to be like for him to lose in the playoffs to the Phillies like they do every year. So we will be back right after our commercial messages. I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, guys, any...
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, no thanks, not my thing.
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Supporting the needs of our veterans. That's the goal of all of us at Team AmVets. Like Mitch, Carlos, and Kevin from our Welcome Home team that brings furniture to our vets.
We are Team AmVets.
Or Linda from our thrift stores who brings you great bargains every day.
I am Team AmVets.
And John, who picks up your thrift store donations that support California veterans programs.
I am Team AmVets.
Visit our website or a Team AmVets thrift store to donate or shop today.
Join the team!
You know, one of the best things about being an ex-big leaguer is getting freebies to the game. Call the front office, bingo. And once these fans recognize me, I probably won't even have to pay for my light beer from Miller. Down it! I love them. These fans know I drink light because it's less filling and it tastes great. Good seats, huh?
You're in the wrong seat, buddy. Come on.
Oh, I must be in the front row.
Come on.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less.
Good seats, hey, buddy. He missed the tag. He missed the tag.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
You know, I
had
can relate
to pull it in one of those old commercials. I have them on the standby for stuff like that. It was like, you know what? Maybe play one of these. You know, the Bob Uecker one is really a good one.
Absolutely. I could actually relate to Bob Uecker in that commercial. I have been that guy. Wrong seat, buddy. Like, damn. By the way,
I must be in the front row.
I must be in the front row. 2 years, Pags. 2 years and $38 damn million. That's what they paid his ass.
You know, and
that's actually not a lot.
No,
that's what I was thinking.
16 and 18, I think is what it came out to be.
And they actually have a 3rd-year option on it. They have an $18 million club option for 26. So they have.
Crazy.
Yeah,
how old is he?
Oh, God. I know he's in his late 30s.
I mean, again, you're getting him relatively cheap. Like it's.
Oh, I get it. I mean, I understand. It's just, you know, I mean, hey, they need somebody to try to get him over the top, and that's been the hardest part with the Braves.
He's 34.
That's not too bad, actually.
Mid-30s.
Yeah. So that's not terrible. You have him for 2 years for sure. You have a club option for the 3rd. It's relatively cheap. It's, you know,
I don't know though. Is it really $18 million to a guy that possibly could make it the whole season, but may not make it the whole season?
Well, yeah, but
actually, I think you're paying for him not to make it the whole season.
Yeah,
you want to take it easy on him. There has been more and more discussion about going to a 6-man rotation.
Yeah.
You know, that guys want to do a 6-man. Now, the problem with going to a 6-man rotation is that some teams don't even have really a 4-man rotation. That they are putting out bullpen games for that 5th game.
Some people aren't even as good on a 6-man. Like, I'll tell you right now, Verlander, if you told him a 6-man rotation, he said, I need to pitch every 4 days. One time, every 4 days. That's what he said
every
that
5th
his whole
day.
career. He said every 4th day. But if you want to say every 5th day, let's go with that. Every 5th day. The whole point is some pitchers need to pitch more frequently to keep that groove going.
Sure. Well, and even if you had a 6-man rotation, so the rest of them have a rotation that fits around a guy that has to do that. Like it wouldn't be that hard to make that work.
Exactly. I mean, if you can meet that requirement, that would be the deal, right? If you can make what they need.
The truth of the matter is that in most cases, that you're going to have like 3 weeks where there's no days off. That's the most that you're going to go in baseball. I think the Phillies longest stretches like 16 games without a day off. So most of the time you have a day off in between there. So even if you're pitching, you're going to pitch every fifth day. That fifth day is sometimes 6 days away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So ultimately, you're going to have that a little bit, and it's just what it is. It's like, okay, it's you mess up the rotation a little bit, or a rain day. Rain days mess things up and things like that. So you're not able to just be like, okay, I'm going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, and it's
right. And I think with somebody like Sale, you almost have to do that. Like you put him in a 6-man tie somewhere, like you said, Pax, where you're not taxing him too heavily, because that man's going to break easily.
But they got pitch counts anyways. I mean, literally, he's going to be on an 85 pitch count, which means that he's going to pitch 5 innings. That's typical,
right?
It's like
or 3 bad ones.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Or in theory, it could be even 3 good ones.
Yeah, true.
Where he's pitching 3 innings, but he's pitching a lot of pitches. You know what I mean? Because let's face it, they can get around on him. He fouls. You could foul off a lot of balls with him.
For sure.
So that's part of how you go up against him.
I mean, if you got a 6-man rotation, though, that gives you a lot of flexibility with a guy like Chris Sale. If you got that kind of a rotation, then you're right. He's a utility pitcher, right? You don't have to use him all the time. Every now and then, maybe in key situations, maybe against, like if you get in the playoffs and you got a guy who's got a low ERA type of guy, then you maybe you bump him up for that to compete against that guy, right? Maybe specialty situations type thing. So, I mean, because it gives you a lot of 6-man rotation. That's a lot of the Astros had a 6-man rotation. And then when we got to the playoffs, we actually started putting 2 of the guys down in the bullpen. So we actually had a 4-man rotation, but then we had 2 starters that came out of the bullpen, to Pag's credit, that could eat up innings, right, for your other guys. So, yeah. And let me ask you this: Would it be prudent to maybe even say, Chris Sale, at this point in your career, maybe we slide you down to either the setup man or the closer, put it just like John Smoltz did to extend his career?
I mean, I don't think he's quite old enough to have to do that yet, but I mean, you could, I guess.
Not only that, I don't know that he's got the stuff to do that.
Right.
Like, for instance, I said that last year. I would have rather had Nola be in the bullpen and have him pitch daily in the 7th or 8th inning. That he was going to be a better option than what we had there at that point. And he wound up being, because our closer couldn't be our closer anymore. And ultimately, he's now, I think he's with Houston, isn't he? Or with Rangers? I'm not sure even who he signed with.
Who was your closer again?
Oh my God. I'm so glad I don't remember his name.
I don't think it's with the Astros. If he went to Texas, most likely it's probably with the Rangers. He's looking at us. So I just feel. Go ahead.
Craig Kimbrell. I'm so glad I don't remember
I think he's
his
with
name.
the Rangers now. I do think Craig is with the Rangers.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's where he went. So ultimately, it's
because he's the one that had that really weird look. Like he had his arms up here, like
he kind of looks like Batman.
Yeah,
it's the weirdest thing. Like nobody pitches like that. It's crazy.
It's the zombie approach.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. Look, with a guy like Sale, who we all know has missed multiple seasons, not games. He has missed multiple seasons due to injury. I think you put him in the bullpen. It doesn't even be the closer position. Maybe he's he comes in around the 5th or 6th inning, gives you two or three innings here or there of good baseball, right? So he could be your setup man for the setup man, right? If the 7th in the 8th inning, maybe he comes in around the 6th and 7th, and then you got your 8th and 9th guy, and you get out. And I think you extend his career that way.
Maybe
I'm just spitballing, Pags, but I just hate to see him try to go a whole season, or even at the 6th man, and then get hurt or whatever the case, because he has just been injured so damn much. Pride hates him. One of the guys I know that I deal with the Pride he's a Boston guy, and he hates Sale because of the injuries that he's gone through.
And listen, I don't care because he's on the Braves. And
oh, I know, I get it. Yes, hey, we don't got to deal with it. So
yeah, exactly. Let the Braves have to deal with that, and I hope it comes back to bite them.
Yeah, I do too.
Watch him have his first like really healthy season.
Yeah,
you
he
know
pitches like 270 innings this season.
Exactly.
But that's how it happens.
It totally does. It totally does. Yeah. They go somewhere else. All of a sudden, they get like CMC, right? Like somehow he just comes in and sets the rushing record. Like,
it just goes off in a new situation, and that's why like one of the weaknesses for the Astros, I will tell you, is our left hand. So we got Alvarez over there, but Alvarez, he's good in Houston, but he's not good in bigger parks because he's not fast. Right? He's a big guy. He's not fast. So he's good in the short park. Big park, not so much. And we need a left fielder that can cover that type of ground. And I was hoping we'd go out to Soler. That's what I wanted, was Soler. But he wound up signing. I think he's with the Mets or New York or somewhere. I forget where he went. But he wound up signing in a completely different location. But so we missed out on him, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, and Lincecum, I can't stand. I could never stand Lincecum.
He looks like he has never hit puberty, that kid. Like, seriously, look at him. He's young. He looks like he's still in high school.
Something like that. I was never a fan of his. And, just like I was never a fan of, Syndergaard.
Yeah, Noah Syndergaard. Yeah. Where is he at?
He signed with somebody. I want to say he's with San Francisco right now.
Okay.
Noah Syndergaard is with the Dodgers. Is that where he's at?
Is that where he went?
He's with the Guardians right now.
Okay,
or
so
the
he's with
Indians.
Cleveland. Okay. Yeah.
So, but yeah, like he was another one. He could never pitch against the Mets. So it was always like, in fact, he would pull himself from the rotation not to pitch against the Mets.
That's
really
That's crazy.
Really,
that's crazy.
He did that twice.
See, I don't want pitchers like that. If you got any kind of fear in you, I don't want you on my team. You better go out there with a killer instinct or get the hell out.
I mean, you can remain in that scenario. You can remain on the team. It's not like you're going to see the Mets in the playoffs. So,
right. That's the one thing the Mets do is that they Mets it up. They Mets it up.
Golly, think about spending all that money and you still come up with empty pockets.
Right? Like if there was a team that you were going to play bad and, just be like, I'm not going to play. Like that's the one because long term, it's not going to matter. So, and based on that comment, welcome Mets fans to the Hater Show.
Welcome to the Hater Show, April 1st. Please let us know how you really feel.
But just speaking about the Mets, obviously, the Mets have a great fan base that love to travel, and they love traveling to Philadelphia. And so we have, it's called the 7-Line Army that shows up because it's the 7-line train that goes to, or trolley that goes to Citi Field. So that's why they're called the 7-Line Army. And they come down in mass to Philadelphia, like 5,000 deep.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it is awesome. And I love going up there and talking with them. Like it's like, I'll go up there and I make content. It's like, you got all this sea of blue and, and it's like, a couple years ago, I did a parody of the Police song. There's a little red spot on a sea of blue. It's but they get it. They enjoy the banter. They're good fans for the most part. It's not like the 80s where when the Mets fans would come to Veterans Stadium and then we'd spank them, that they'd break all the seats and stuff like that. Right now, they don't fight. They don't fight with Philadelphia fans. They fight with each other.
Yeah.
So most of the time when the Mets fans come to Philadelphia, Mets fans are fighting other Mets fans. They're not fighting Philadelphia fans. So it's hysterical how that works. But I love the fan base, and it's easy to troll them because they're the Mets. They Mets it up. I usually go to their stadium once a year when the Phillies are playing there. They love me there. You know what I mean? It's like, it's always a lot of fun. I get a lot of pictures. I banter a little bit with Mr. and Mrs. Met. They tried to use me in a right way. The Mets actually put out this video about the jail at Citi Field. And they said, they used my likeness when they used a picture of me saying, hey, it's usually only meant for, fans that get kicked out of stadium or do something bad in the stadium. And they showed me. And I was like, I've never been kicked out of a stadium before in my life. And you're showing me like this. So I actually wrote to them and I says that I feel like that was done in poor taste. They took it down. Bleacher Report shared it. So now Bleacher Report. So ultimately, it is what it is. I appreciate the fact that they
took it down,
trolled me. Sure. It's like that they wanted to start that banter. I just think they did it improperly. I don't think it was meant malicious. I think that they were just like, because they have a great picture of me going and smiling. You know what I mean? Awesome. It was just done in poor taste, and they took it down right away. You know what I mean?
But it was publicity. Still get your name out there, though.
And at the end of the day,
get your name out there. People see that. Oh, Philly sports guy. They know who this guy was.
The fear was no, and I appreciate that. Like I said, I love the fact that they were trolling me. Like that's what that is. That's a troll, and I love that. If you're going to troll me, hey, listen. One of my biggest trolls is Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones loves trolling me, loves using my picture and stuff for the Eagles.
That is a rival. You guys are our rivals, so it makes sense that Jerry would probably. I'm surprised.
Jerry
like the internet.
Like when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat us, who started out their video? This guy. It's like, so the season is over, and it's like that's how they started. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers used me as the start of their thing.
Yeah. Who did they use? I do. I remember. Yeah.
No, I mean, and you should be kind of happy because that's probably the first sports-related thing Bleacher Report's actually put on their thing in a while.
Yeah. Frankie trolls Philly sports guy. Don't tell him I said that, but he does. Because every time, I kid you not, Pags, I kid you not, every time in our ESPN group chat that we have, he'll be like, "Hey, look, did you see Pags at the game last night?" And it's just when you were at the Astros game, and it's you in your Phillies gear, and I'm like, "Yeah." And every time even like in the Super Bowl, I said, "Hey, did you see Pags looking pretty sad when they got kicked out of the playoffs? Did you see the look?" And then he'll come back with a picture of you, and you're like. Then the Pags.
Listen, there are numerous memes about me. There are numerous memes because
I think it's cool to be a meme. That's cool.
The look that I have explains the fan base.
Yeah.
Like, so that look when you have, and that's everywhere. That is absolutely a meme of me just looking miserable because there's nothing else I could say. There's nothing else I could do. There's no, it's just like that was the look of defeat.
What year did you develop the Philly sports guy? What year was it?
I got recognized. I've been doing face paint since 1999.
Okay.
So, but I got recognized in 2019. That's when I got my first. Fox Sports showed me a tremendous amount, and I had a meme made of me. I went viral on Barstool Sports and Bleacher Report. They both had me. Barstool Sports said that I was the most sophisticated man in Philadelphia. It was, but it was kind of cool how that all came about because of a video that John Clark did. And I'm down there, and I was in that stadium 3 hours early. 3 hours early. Nonstop yelling and screaming. Everybody was coming over and just being like, "Who the hell is this guy?" You know what I mean? Like, I gotta get a picture with this guy, and I'm just going nuts, doing my thing. And next thing you know is that I get the commercial. I get saying, "Hey, you should." See if the Philly sports guy name is available. And so it was really early 2019 when the Philly sports guy's name came out.
That's cool. All right. Okay. Let me ask you this. Okay. As a Phillies guy, I remember, because me and you are roughly about close to the same age. So, and during those 1970s into the 80s, how was the Philadelphia Eagle experience for you when you were growing up through those times?
So, I mean, obviously 1980 was the first time I actually remember. So I was a little young in the late 70s, and Dick Vermeil coming in was like, there was more talk about it. We used to get 3 newspapers a day. We'd get the Philadelphia Inquirer, morning edition, uh, the Daily Times morning edition, and then the Philadelphia Bulletin at evening edition. So I would get to read a lot of different stories and stuff like that. I would always steal the sports page and then get yelled at by my grandfather because my grandfather would always, my grandfather was always telling me, I'm going to go watch the Phillies today. And I always thought he meant baseball. He was going to the track. So he was, and they would have all of the different horse races on the back
Yeah.
page of the sports page. You would
Yeah.
see that nonstop. They don't do that anymore, but that was a big deal back then. So I would always get yelled at that I had the sports page before he could get to it because he
Oh my
wanted to
God,
see,
that's funny.
and he would tell me all the time that he was going to go see the Phillies. I'm like, oh, can I go? He's like, no, you can't go. And it just.
Yep.
But
I can see why you would think baseball, and he's like,
well, that's because, and he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was talking about. He didn't want
100%.
to. He wasn't. He was making sure that I wasn't going to tell on him to his wife, to my grandmother, that he was going to the track.
Exactly.
So, and listen, my grandfather was 100% Italian and worked in concrete. He had some.
Yeah.
He had some friends. He knew a few guys. You know what I mean? Let's be for real. You know what I mean? That was that time of year. That was that time too. So he was a concrete foreman, and Italian, 100%.
Yeah. So if he said, "Hey, hey, we're gonna slide this thing in there. Don't worry about it. You just keep putting the concrete over it."
I'd get phone calls. You're answering the phone as a kid, and he goes, "Where's Mother Foo?" That's how they would. That's how they'd speak. That's how they'd speak to me. Where's Mother Foo? Mother Foo? Who's Mother Foo? I didn't know what Mother Foo meant. I found out. You know what I mean? It's as you get older, you start to realize what's.
What's happening? Yeah.
Just like his bookie. His bookie was my Uncle Shad. Shadow. That's what they called him. He was the shadow because you could never find him.
Oh Lord.
He was everywhere, but you couldn't find him. That was my
fantastic.
Uncle Shad. You know what I mean? So, and it again, you didn't know it until later on when I was actually old enough, and he'd be on the phone and he'd go, Shadow, I want this, 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 I want this. Playing the numbers. Always playing the numbers. I want 632. I want 614. I want, like all the different numbers. You think that he's playing like the daily number, like the lottery. Those were horse races.
Yep.
So,
number 4, number 1.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah, those are all great times, like back in the day, like in those old school stuff. So it was in the 80s that I started to know about the Eagles. So we went to the Super Bowl in 1981, was Super Bowl 15 in New Orleans, and we lost to the Raiders. And then, that next year we were okay, but then they had the strike. That was that strike season in 1983. So I kind of remember that, and we had the the scabs. But I'll never forget, like, Philadelphia was a big union town, and Buddy Ryan was the coach at that time, and he really understood. Like, he's like, listen, you guys all cross together or you stay out together. Do not split. Don't do that here. You all either all come or you all stay out. And you're in Philly, Union Town. At best if you stay away.
Yeah.
And they did. And they stayed away. You know what I mean? So, but that was also where the USFL started to come about, because ultimately it was that strike that spawned the USFL and got guys like Trump and all those other guys. I think like Wynn had a team and stuff like that. so
Right.
that they would be able to start that, and that's you had real competition. Had they stayed in the spring, they probably would have lasted. But
No,
that's
they
when
tried to compete with the damn
somebody got greedy.
NFL. Yeah,
Somebody
they
got
tried to
greedy.
compete. That's dumb.
It's really dumb. Yeah.
I mean, no, you're right, Pags. If they would just stay with the format they had, they could have grown. It would have been a slower growth, but you can't just take on the giant and think you're going to be okay and withstand it.
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is that antitrust. I mean, they won the $1, but nobody knew when you ask the people that were as part of that jury, they had no idea that it worked that way. They thought that, oh, by giving them $1 and winning it, winning that dollar, that the judge would will award them a lot more money, those billions of dollars. They put $1, like, hey, listen, you guys won and you won the dollar. Well, that was it. The judge was like, oh, it's $1. Wound up being $3, and then they wound up paying the lawyers' fees, but that was it. I mean, it wound up because it was an antitrust. It was in triplicate, and ultimately, so they wound up winning $3, and the lawyers' fees all paid for. But they failed as now a. So that's when they had the double draft. They had the double draft that year. They had the original NFL draft, and then they had the supplemental draft to be able to get all of the guys from the USFL. But you think about it, uh, Mora was the coach of the Philadelphia Stars, went to the championship 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then became a coach of the Saints. And that's where you got the playoffs.
But that also spawned Jim Kelly.
He was the coach of the Colts when that was the case, though.
Yeah.
Right.
But I just the USFL, that's what spawned Jim Kelly. And Jim Kelly was such a great player, man.
Well, I mean, it spawned a lot of them. I mean, Reggie White was part of the Memphis Showboats. Herschel Walker played for the New Jersey Generals. I mean, the Philadelphia Stars had Kelvin Bryant as Chuck Fusina as their quarterback. I mean, there was a lot of great players that played in the USFL that, it was just an amazing time. And ultimately, then, like I said, they got greedy. Because ultimately, I think what happened, there was one player who got drafted and decided he wanted to go to the NFL and not the USFL. And it was because of that. It was part of the New Jersey Generals who drafted him, and they lost that draft pick. And that was what spawned Trump to want to sue for antitrust, because they were trying to force that because the NFL was playing a weirdo game with them.
Yeah.
So, but yes, Jim Kelly was there. There's a lot of players that were USFL. I think I want to say Eric Allen was part of the USFL who came over. There was I want to say that there's probably I want to say almost 20 players. How many Hall of Fame
I'm about to say had to been a
players
few, obviously.
played in the USFL?
Yeah.
Marv Levy, Jim Kelly, George Allen, Sid Gilman, Fred Bitnikoff, Steve Young, Reggie White, Gary Zimmerman, Polian. How many players actually made it to the USFL? It doesn't 14 USFL players end up on NFL active rosters. That doesn't even sound like enough. No. Okay,
No,
that's the new that's the new USFL. That was the new USFL. I'm talking the original. Let's go USFL. Let's try that. And it doesn't really tell me. The Houston Gamblers. That's who Jim Kelly played for.
Yeah, he was a Houston guy. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
I used to love watching the Gamblers back when he played.
Yeah, I mean, Houston was a good team back then.
Oh, we were. We were. And then they when they I guess
Couldn't
what is
get
it now
past-
when they started the new league that's starting up? I think they could have merged the XFL and the USFL together, and I think
The XFL.
Yeah, and now we're gonna be
Or the
Roughnecks.
UFL is what it is now.
Yeah, UFL.
Yeah, it's the UFL.
Yeah. So now they kept the Roughnecks. I was hoping they keep the Gamblers. I like the Gamblers better than Bet.
Well, I mean the Houston layout
That's it.
is
Jim
anyway,
Mora.
because they blended the two teams together, right?
Yeah.
So it's the XFL roster, the USFL front office.
Lineup. Yeah. Which is okay. The Roughnecks is okay because I mean the Houston is an oil town, so Roughnecks it does suit us.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
I just like the big G in the gambling, the state of Texas.
Sam
I just
Mills.
like that uniform.
Sam Mills. That was him.
Sam Mills. Yeah. I remember Sam.
Sam Mills. Sam Mills, Reggie White, Gary Zimmerman, Steve Young, Marv Levy, Jim Kelly, Sid Gilman, and George Allen. Bill Polian, who was just a personnel director. But he wound up, those are the ones who wound up making it into the Hall of Fame from the USFL.
Okay. Interesting.
There we go. So a good amount.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you knew it was a good
Speaking
amount.
of Jim Kelly, great documentary on the Bills. There you go. A documentary of the 4 Super Bowl losses.
I thought it's interesting that
sure Buffalo
he
loves
brought it up that
It's not a normal 30 for 30. It's the 0 for 30.
Oh, for 30. But I thought isn't that interesting though that Jim Kelly never wanted to play for Buffalo, but yet I mean he did so well for that organization.
Yeah, I mean you're going to go where you get the job.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You may not want to be there.
Right.
Like I've worked for plenty of places that I didn't want to work. They just the paychecks cashed.
Yeah. Well, I say that because look at Eli Manning. Eli Manning didn't want to play for San Diego in the draft. So what does he do? He cries about it. They send him over to New York. Then he goes and plays for New York. You know, they don't make players like that back in Jim Kelly's day, like where they's like, okay, this is where I got drafted. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be my best. I'm gonna do whatever I can. You know,
John Elway did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I you know, he was another one who was a little biatch. So
I mean,
I want to make sure not to.
I mean, it's like, you know, it's a little self-entitlement there. Like, come on, man. You're lucky to even get drafted. I mean, not lucky. I mean, because you obviously had skill. But, I mean, come on.
To be fair, like, if I was getting drafted number 1, and it's going to be to the Browns or something, you know, you're looking at that like, man, like, that could ruin my career before it starts. Like, you may try and find your way off that roster.
I don't know. I mean, you know what? I get that too. But look at CJ Stroud. He got drafted to the worst damn team in the galaxy. Now he made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, but
you know, I mean,
there's a distinct difference though, because
I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, go play where you play. But I understand your point too, Bo. I understand where you're coming from. You're like, oh shit, they don't have an offensive line. Why do I want to?
Oh, no. It's not even that. Not even that. There was dysfunction within the organization that could legitimately like ruin your career, right? Like, think of how many number 1 quarterbacks they took that, you know, some of them did play okay other places, but I mean, a lot of them, their time in Cleveland, like, that was it. Crushed their career. And did they have a bad team around them? Sure. That's why they had the number 1 pick, but they also just had a bad front office. And so, you know, those players never developed. So, I mean, there are instances that I can look at it and be like, you know, I kind of get it.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying too. I mean, I certainly understand that logic behind it, right? I think maybe, and if I did go there, okay, I go there, but I don't sign a long contract. I keep it as short as possible.
Well, it's a rookie deal.
Get the hell out.
You don't even get the option. It's a rookie deal. Like, that's a locked in contract.
It is. You're right. It's locked in. But then I think that next contract, you just play the best you can and then try to get a new deal with a different team afterwards.
Either that or you just go and stink it up at the combine. Be like, just let me not be number 1 overall.
You know what? Yeah. So, yeah. Or could you just simply pull out of the draft and wait till the next year's draft and play until you're in college? If that was the case, like, you know,
when you think of how bad the Browns were for so long, it wouldn't have mattered. They had the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Well, then I guess you're right. I guess in that role, you do stink it up a little bit at the combine
Yeah.
And so, you know what? I'm going to take this hit and I'm going to go out there and ball out, and then we're going to come
Exactly.
back.
You just manipulate the draft a little bit. You
you go. Maybe you don't make that correct pass on one time.
Right. Like you make a bad read at the combine. You have a bad pro day, right? Not too bad, right? Like you don't want to be in for their second pick, but you want,
But you know what though? But at the same time, you can go out there and be a 6th round pick or number 299 or whatever irrelevant is, and you still go out there and get on a great team and you ball out. I mean, it can happen.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, for sure, like a lot of football is fit, right?
Yeah.
Like you get lucky because you weren't the number one, say you're number 23. It's like, oh, well, cool. You're going to go to a team that's probably decent. Right.
Right.
So, yeah. But if you're the number one, I don't know. You kind of finesse your way back a little bit. The only reason you don't is the pay for being the number one overall pick.
If you really believe in your talent and you know what you are, sometimes, like you said, strategically put yourself back a little bit to get to the right team that can help your career. That little bit of money that you gave up, being the 1st round pick, you're going to make 10 times over throughout your career if you're really good enough, right? Like look at Tom Brady. Sure. I mean, 6th round pick, went way back, didn't get the Quan, but he was so damn good. He could have got. Well, he did. He got all that money, right?
Yeah, I mean, he did eventually get it.
He got the Quan. Say it.
I can't. It sounds so forced.
Look, do not make me go Sam Kinison on you. I will straight go Sam Kinison on you. You better say Quan. You better say it now.
No, we're not talking about any Quan.
Yeah, it's 0 times.
I inadvertently I got Pax to say the word Quan without even knowing. You see how subliminal shit works? I'm a Jedi master on this show. But I will tell you, this is the part where Bo should say, "You cannot get me with your Jedi powers. I am too strong for you."
Yeah, I am not the droid you're looking for. Oh man.
See, that was a great one. Set you up for it.
There we go. Hey, you know what? And you got Robert with the Quan. Everybody's quanning it up.
You think? Can't do it. But on the plus side, if they do pay Dak, that team is going to be terrible. So
look, I will tell you this. I hope Jerry is. And this is the part where we start getting into senilism, right? And maybe somebody needs to take over power of the Cowboys away from him because he can't make sound decisions. Maybe Steven, the son, needs to say, "Dad, we're not giving him that much money. Hell with that shit."
No. They're going to pay him.
I hope somebody speaks the voice of reason.
They're going to pay him. They're going to give Pollard top dollar and then get rid of a bunch of the defense.
But you know what? Hey, I will tell you this. I'll tell you this right now. I see giving Pollard more money because I think he kind of has deserved it and showed it on the field than I do Dak. Or even Zeke for that matter. Let's just go a little further. Let's get into the conversation. I mean, Pollard has gotten hurt one time, but the guy is great. Like he lays it all out on the field and he gives you everything he has. Dak, come on, man. You at this point in Dak's career, you know what he is, right? He's not gonna manifest himself into something better than Patrick Mahomes or whatever. He is the quarterback that he is, right?
And the thing that's funny is this was one of his better years.
It was. Truthfully, it was. It really was.
That means this was kind of the upper end of what he is. So,
God, this year was the pinnacle year. Damn it. Damn it all to hell.
Man, that's enjoyable.
now we're going to be knocked back in purgatory. Bring on Quincy Carter. Hell, let's go. Let's recycle.
Yep. Here we go. 9 and 8.
You don't even know how bad the Quincy Carter and
9 and 8s are coming.
Hinton years were. God, those years were bad. I mean, they were bad. You were thankful to get a Tony Romo back in those days.
It's messed up.
You know what, though? But here's the thing, Robert. This is how I know you don't watch the game of football. If you would have watched this playoffs, no, seriously, if you would have watched this year's playoffs, Dak actually wasn't the issue. It was the defense and the play calling of the defense that was the issue.
Well, really, in that game, yes. In that game, yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is actually the first year that you can't say that the quarterback was the cause of the issue. It was the damn defense or lack thereof.
Well, we don't know if he was going to be the issue because you guys didn't get to another game. But
hey, you shut your mouth, bro. You know damn good well what I'm saying. Don't you start doing that Robert stuff with me, son.
He absolutely could have, been terrible.
But you know what I'm saying, right? Like, if we had played better defense, I mean, look, the game wasn't we could have got it. We could have done something.
No, the defensive play calling was horrendous.
It was
terrible. What did they score? 6-7 times in a row?
Yeah, well, and their secondary was nowhere to be seen ever. So, I mean,
literally, you got a guy catching a ball, and then the screenshot, there's nobody around him at the 5-yard line.
I mean,
it's just him.
You have better automated defense calling the same play on Madden than what we were seeing out of Dallas.
You know what? And I hate to say that, but you are absolutely correct.
Yeah, no, it was bad. It was bad. So I agree. I just like giving you a bad time, but I agree.
Yeah, it's okay. I can take it.
That was not the issue in that game. Now, I think he would have became an issue had you gone further, but he was not the issue in that game.
Well, and actually,
about that game was the fact that
what we didn't see was whether, because the defense couldn't stop anybody, when it came down to it, could Dak have led them to a game-winning drive? We don't know that answer either.
True. Yeah,
and we don't
because when it comes to game-winning drives, Dak comes up a little small or slides a little too late and then can't spike the ball or anything like that.
I will say this.
Or slides a little too early and misses the first down.
Hey, or doesn't even make the playoffs at all. Oh, I'm sorry, Bo. Hold on a minute. Just stand off to the couch where you were at in the beginning of all this.
I mean, you guys decided you wanted to hang out also. So,
hey, Bo, sit on the couch, relax. Only me and Pax can talk about this because we were there. You were sitting there on couch watching us. All I'm saying, Pax,
all I was doing was prepping the food because you guys were about to join me.
Oh, you can't stop. You just can't stop. But all
I did was make some salsa and clear some space.
Okay, Bo, calm down. Hit the mute button, Pags. Look, if you're going to mute my ass, you better have equality all the way across the panel. All I'm saying is, to Pag's point, I agree with what you're saying, Pags. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just saying that this is the one year, honestly, that we can't say Dak was the reason we lost this game. We all know it was started out with the defense, and it just kind of carried over. But Dak was actually not the issue of the game. It was the defense and play calling, that really kind of hurt us.
Yes.
Did you even one time? Let me ask you this, guys. At any point in time in the game, did Jordan Love ever have pressure on him? No. He's back there counting his money, throwing passes, relaxed, totally relaxed.
Yeah, there wasn't a single piece of that defense that was playing well.
Yeah,
it wasn't up front, wasn't in the secondary. I don't know what they were doing, but defense wasn't on the cards for that game
at all. So
right.
I'm giving Dak a pass this year. I'm not giving him $60 million. That's insane. That's insane. And look, now Jerry might give him $60 million, but I'm not giving him $60 million. I think realistically, I give him maybe 40, 45 million. I think that's the caliber of the quarterback where he is. But we all know that there's so many elements to paying somebody in this game for bullshit reasons that we know about, right? That you get paid more than what you actually are worth, because you know why? There's nobody else out there that we know that's better than this. So we're going to pay X because Y doesn't look any better.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's actually, that's how a guy like Daniel Jones got money, is exactly that. The other options weren't really there. And Rob and I are on the same boat here. We remember our good days of Mariners baseball before they stopped playing altogether.
Mariner fan. Reliving the Dallas awesomeness from 20 plus. Yeah. No, first of all, Rob,
same era.
I don't know if you were at the beginning of this show or not, because I feel like you weren't. I feel like maybe 85% of your life you weren't there, but it's okay. That's for another show, another day. I'm just trying to tell you, at the beginning of this show, I told you that I'm a realistic fan and I don't have those delusional cowboyism ideas. And I think Bo has known me long enough, Philly's known me long enough to know that I don't have delusional thoughts like that. And
I don't know if I would blanket statement that way, but
But Pags don't know that, but I release subliminal cues. When Pags does this shit, I know to be quiet.
Yeah, it just sometimes it gets. I'm like, am I getting a headache here, or is it just Jay?
No, it's Jay. Let me go ahead and save you the conundrum there. It's Jay. It's Jay. 'Cause my wife does this too. That's how I know to read this shit.
So when the wife does this, it's like, okay, it's time for me to shut up now. It's like
See,
that's
and
I
that's
get it.
how I know she's already making fake accounts to call in multiple times.
Bro, it's so bad that hey, watch this. When I was reading my vows to her, she started doing this. And when you get this during the wedding vows, there's nowhere to go but up.
No, that makes sense because at some point you're not even going to have a reception because they're going to kick you out. They're like, "Could you stop talking so we can wrap this up?"
Yeah, exactly.
It's like right at the Roxbury. You know when they can't get in the club and they make them go to the end of the line? That's why I feel I fucking at the end of the line. Even at my own wedding reception, at the end of the line.
Oh, I thought he meant when he was like, it breaks it, and he broke the window. You know what I mean? That's what I was thinking. We all go down together. Oh my Lord! So let's see. Let's see if there's any other news that came out because I'm really just tired of talking to having here Jay talk about nothing because it's been it's been tough. Just going on and going on and going on. So, they're talking about trading Waddle in
Miami.
Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill doesn't think the idea of his team trading wide out Jalen Waddle makes any sense.
It doesn't make sense. That's stupid.
Well, I guess that just comes down to if they can afford to keep him, right? I mean, that's similar to the Bengals. There's a good chance they lose one of those receivers.
I don't know,
it's
man.
funny.
Miami
I'm
market.
all the way in Greece right now, and I get on Twitter to see people talking crazy about Dolphin football.
I mean, seriously, this is Miami. It's not like this is a small market team. Come on, they still got money down there in Miami.
Yeah, the cap's the cap, man. Like it's
well, that's true. You're right. I keep forgetting that they have the hard cap and not the soft.
it's not finesse cap like basketball or anything. Like they have a hard number to hit.
Yeah, and I heard that it was going to actually be raised up from where they thought it was going to be. That it was supposed to be somewhere around 242. It's going to wind up being like 248. So there's going to be like 6 million that everybody else gets, which really only makes the Cowboys minus 12 million rather than minus.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second, Pat. That's a good reason. If all these players' salaries keep going up astronomically, right? I mean, the quarterback is definitely astronomical, but if they keep going to these higher rates, wouldn't they have to raise the cap? Because no team out there, if we're all under the same guideline, no team out there can afford to meet that cap demand.
So
given what player salaries are.
The cap has some like it has to do with like their TV
revenue sharing.
Yeah,
it's a revenue sharing across the board. Revenue sharing. So they get 51%. The players get 51% of whatever the total revenue share is. So when you're talking about having $250 million, which is really what we're talking about per team. So 250 million times 32 is how many billion? Lots of billions.
A lot. That's a lot of damn
so
zeros.
it's $8 billion. It's $8 billion. And so that's really what they're talking about. And that comes out to 51%.
Yeah.
So there's another $7.8 billion. That's the 49% that the owners make. So let's be for real on what's happening here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
no, I got you. And Chris Lentz,
and that doesn't even include jersey sales and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Oh no, we're not even talking about jersey sales or all the other stuff that brings money in. I know Chris Lentz is asking about Derrick Henry news, and I have not seen a thing come out about Derrick Henry yet. So
no, there's nothing yet.
Trust me, if there would be Derrick Henry news, we would have covered this already.
Yeah, no, it's news is still real quiet on Derrick Henry. I think everybody is interested in seeing what it is happens with him. Honestly, same with Saquon though. I'm curious what's actually going to happen there.
Hey, have you heard? I saw where I don't know where it was saw, but I saw a report where possibly the Cowboys could try to make a play for Saquon. But I've also heard Derrick Henry's news linked to the Cowboys as well.
Yeah, well,
So
I mean,
interesting.
those would be the two guys you would go after because you're probably not keeping Pollard.
Well, Bo, you're the guy that's played football here. Let me ask you this: if you're the Cowboys and you have a shot at Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley, which avenue of approach would you go with?
So here's the thing: is I would probably go Derrick Henry, and why I say that is he has been more durable over his career.
Right, and I think he's the thunder to Pollard's lightning.
Well, I still don't think you get to keep Pollard is the problem.
Yeah, you're right.
You have a very real cap issue, and he will probably be a cap casualty. So you probably bring in Henry because he's going to be cheaper, and you are at a spot with a roster that you have this year and maybe next year, and that roster is going to get blown up. So you don't need Derrick Henry to be great forever. You need to get 2 good seasons out of Derrick Henry.
1 to 2 years, 1 to 2.
That's
You're
it.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're not trying to go after a Saquon, which has not been able to stay healthy. Right. So even though Saquon is, I believe he's younger, right? He, in theory, might have more tread on the tires. You don't care about that. You are running on spares at this point because you're just trying to get across the finish line because outside of a couple of years, you're not going to be able to afford any of this roster if you pay Dak. And a lot of these guys are going to be old enough that they're going to be moving off this team. They're either going to cost too much, retire, or whatever. So you have this year and next year. They're probably still not going to be as good of a team as they were this last year. But I mean, you got 1 or 2 more cracks at it, and that's it. So
yeah,
you got to go get a guy that's a monster.
Because you got to think. Look, in my mind, the most important person on this team isn't Dak. The most important for me, the most important person on this team for me is still Micah Parsons because he's young and you know you're going to have to pay him.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you, Micah Parsons is a generational guy for the Cowboys, and they've got to pay this guy. Now, Jerry, he doesn't typically pay linebackers that kind of money and stuff, but he's got to pay Micah that money because Micah is just that kind of generational guy when he's 100%. We all know last year he went 100%. In the playoff game, he's walking around with the club on his hand. So you know he ain't 100%.
Sure.
But you got to pay him. You know, so I agree with you. I think Derrick Henry's the right guy to go with. You're going to have, like you said, because of the cap, you're going to have to go Pollard. And then you ride out with Deuce Vaughn. Hopefully Deuce will stand up and do what he's supposed to do. And that will be your lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder. I think that's probably the play there.
Yeah, well, you got to. Your second running back has to be cheap because although Derrick Henry isn't going to be top dollar, he's still not going to be cheap, right? Like he's a vet. He's
still going to want some money. Career. But I don't think you give Derrick Henry over 9.5. I mean, Jonathan Taylor got what 11 million. So you know Derrick Henry's older, so he's going to be less than that. I think maybe 8 to 9 million is all I'm giving Derrick Henry. And I don't know what you think about that, but
no, that's probably about right.
I think 8 to 9 million. If you can get Henry for that cap number or that dollar amount, yeah.
Well,
and you're saying Saquon below that.
What's that?
You're saying Saquon below that.
Well, so the thing is I think Saquon probably gets more than Henry does.
Yeah.
Because of age.
Younger.
Yeah. So in theory, he would have more tread on the tires, even though I would trust Henry to stay healthy over Saquon.
I don't know, though. I mean, the only thing that always crops in my head, though, Bo, when we talk about tread on the tires, is I keep hearing this thing in my mind that says every time I've been operated on, I lose X number of years. And Saquon has had both of these operated on multiple times. And even though his physical age is X, and I don't know his physical age, I'm sure he's still probably in his middle to late 20s. You know, once you have those surgeries, in theory, he might be the age limit of a 31-year-old or a 32 or 33-year-old, which kind of could put him in the same realm as a Derrick Henry, you know, physically. You know what I'm saying?
So I think although I agree with you, I think the age would become that deciding factor for a GM to be like, you know.
Oh, yeah, no, I get that too. Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you on that.
Because you have such a short window moving forward at this point, a guy like Derrick Henry would be great.
Right. Absolutely. 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 Because I'm not taking a chance on them jacked up knees of Saquon.
No, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. Because you basically, when you watch Saquon, you know that you're going to get him for 10 games a season. That's what he's going to produce for you. So, or you can get a Derrick Henry. He might get hurt. Saquon, you can almost say, is going to get hurt. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need Derrick Henry to be a monster 15 times a game. Right. Which he's just a massive human. So
no, he is. He is absolutely a massive human. Let me ask you this, Derek, from a football perspective. Like I told you earlier, I have what they call a bucket handle tear in the meniscus, and that happens whenever you twist the knee. And when I think of the running back position, when they have to go shift left or shift right, they're constantly putting a lot of torque when they shift that knee left or right. And I'm really surprised that injury, specific type of injury, hasn't come up more in that field. I'm not a doctor, but with as much as they twist and turn to make those cuts, I'm really surprised that type of injury in the meniscus hasn't occurred more often.
I think it's because it ends up being more damage. Usually they end up actually just hurting it more completely.
Right.
So I think that's why you don't see it more, is they actually just full on tear stuff.
Right. And usually it's the ACL though with those guys.
There's tons of lateral
or the PCL, MCL, those types of ligaments. I'm surprised that the meniscus though hasn't been more of an issue. But again, I've never played the level of football at that kind of caliber, so I know it probably does take a different impact. So
yeah, I mean it does, and some of the things that they do, some of the ways they train have changed, so you don't necessarily end up with similar things. Like I broke a kneecap in practice doing Oklahoma drills. I caught a lineman's helmet on the knee. So I mean, I cracked it in 2 places. It felt amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine that felt great.
Yeah, no, it was super fun, especially, and it was funny because, I get the X-ray of it and you can see the cracks in it and everything. And my doctor was hilarious because he was like, "Oh, congratulations. You actually managed to break something that's not attached to anything."
Oh, that's crazy, man.
Because your kneecap's floating, right? Like it's attached.
It's a floating. Yeah, you're right. It is. It's floating. Yeah. It's crazy. So I mean, when you're doing your conditioning, for football, when you're doing their conditioning, do they have you do a lot of and I'm assuming they do a lot of ligament strengthening type of condition work, more so than maybe the muscular development work?
I mean, you do a lot of stretching, which helps, right? Like you do you do a lot of that stuff, and a lot of that stuff you kind of do on your own, right? Like that was it was the only time in my life where I was really good at actually like foam rolling muscles. Stuff like that, because admittedly I'm terrible at actually doing that now. But yeah, I mean, you kind of did some of those things on your own to protect yourself, similar to what they do in the NFL, right? Like a lot of those guys all do, plyometrics type stuff to remain limber, because that's how you keep from getting injuries. But yeah, I mean, are those things that teams teach you to do and stuff like that? Sure. But I mean, a lot of that you're still doing on your own time.
Right. And I think that's got to be a huge thing in the NFL world, or probably any athletic world, is ligament strengthening. Because like you said, those are where majority of your injuries occur, is in the ligaments.
Yeah. And if you have real tight muscles, stuff like that, puts a lot of strain on ligaments.
All right.
Got you. And there, on that note,
and
we're at the top of the hour. So listen, and we talked more sports today than we did talk yesterday. And we learned all about the different ligaments and everything and all the other fun stuff. As I let you guys just kind of talk it out, because there really wasn't much for me to say on this.
Sports medicine. Hey, today you got sports medicine. Let's go.
There you go. But in the meantime, we will be back tomorrow, where the first hour we will be Jay Less, which means that we'll probably actually be able to have a conversation rather than listen to the gibberish that comes from his mouth. But other than that, everybody have a great day, and we will see you guys tomorrow at same bat time, same bat channel. Take care, guys.